Hello and happy new week, everyone. This week I'm going to do a song. This is completely different from what I intended on doing because sadly, a friend and a fellow musician and great guy, Jim Radford, died on Friday, and he's passed, and he was 91 years old. Great gent. He was a shanty man. He's an activist for so many amazing things, and he was just one of the most interesting and cool guys I've ever met. Just to have a beer with and have a chat with, and he was a brilliant performer. This song that I'm gonna sing is called "Last of the Great Whales," and it's a song he did at the British Oak here in London, and I asked him about it, and he told me. And normally I would perform this with a guitar, but I'm going to sing it Jim Radford style. I'm going to do it shanty and just voice. So I hope you enjoy. This is for you, Jim. My soul has been torn from me, and I am bleeding. My heart, it has been rent, and I am crying. All the beauty around me fades, and I am screaming. I am the last of the great whales, and I am dying. Last night I heard the cry of my last companion, the roar of the harpoon gun, and then I was alone. I thought of the days gone by when we were thousands, but I know that I soon must die, the last Leviathan. This morning the sun did rise, crimson in the north sky. The ice was the color of blood, and the wind it did sigh. I rose for to take a breath, it was my last one. From a gun came the roar of death, and now I am done. And now that we are all gone, there's no more hunting. The big fellow is no more, it's no use lamenting. What race will be next in line, all for the slaughter? The elephant or the seal, or your sons and daughters? My soul has been torn from me, and I am bleeding. My heart, it has been rent, and I am crying. All the beauty around me fades, and I am screaming. I am the last of the great whales, and I am dying. There you go. Hello and welcome to Cooking with Markus, episode 3. This week we're going to do a mac and cheese. My friend Z back in Canada asked for a mac and cheese recipe, so I borrowed what I thought is the best mac and cheese recipe from my mate Scott here in London, a fellow musician, and it's fantastic, blew my mind, and hopefully it will do the same for you. This is great comfort food, just nice, warm, and really cool. So we're gonna make some mac and cheese. Get ready. Here we go. Starting off, this is Scott's restaurant quality mac and cheese, his recipe. He's written it out for me by hand.
I'm going to put all this down in the description of the video. And these are all the ingredients we're going to need. We're going to need some bread. Scott likes to use just some regular white bread with no crusts on it. I'm gonna fudge that a little bit, and I'm gonna use some sourdough because I do love my sourdough, and it should work quite well. We're gonna have some milk. We have pasta. This is a mac and cheese, but for the life of me, I couldn't find any macaroni, so I'm going to use turtle shells. I'm also going to do a kind of gluten-free one as well. I don't have all the things for it, but I'll tell you what you can use if you do want to make this gluten-free. There's some yellow mustard. I'm just using some cheap brand from the thing. It's American mustard. It's not the British mustard. We got regular cheese, which I'll grate in later, and some flour. And then Scott, in his recipe, he says to use, he's an entire head of garlic. I'm only going to use these 3 giant cloves. I'm a bit of a garlic head myself, but you can add however much you think that you would enjoy. And also some butter. First, we're going to heat the oven to 200 degrees, and I'm just going to put it on convection. So I'm going to be using 2 trays instead of just 1 because I believe these are smaller than the tray that Scott would use. So I'm going to spread it out over the 2. Next, I'm going to chop the bread. Again, you can just use regular old-fashioned bread. This is what I'm doing, and again, in Scott's recipe, he says not to use the crusts. I'm going to use kind of everything, but I think it'll probably work. I'm just going to use these 2. I'm going to cut them into little cubes. Basically making breadcrumbs. I remember them being about that size. So. And for the bread, as I said, I used sourdough. Scott uses just plain white bread, but you could do this gluten-free as well using gluten-free bread, and it would do just the same. I did forget to mention earlier that we're going to also need some olive oil and some salt and pepper, which is for this first part where we're going to put the breadcrumbs inside the little trays that are in the oven now, just heating up. And then we're going to drizzle some olive oil and some salt and pepper on top. Be sure you use a oven mitt or cloth towel to pull these out because they're going to be quite hot. So then I'm sprinkling the bread cubes into the trays. Give us a nice base, good foundation. They're not so hot anymore as they were. Then we're going to add the olive oil. We're just going to drizzle some olive oil over top, like so. And then we're going to add salt and pepper. Scott says loads of salt and pepper. I imagine that's just so it'll be however much you prefer. So I'm going to add that much onto these. That should be fine. Some pepper. Pepper I do like a lot. So we'll do that. And we're ready for the next step. And then we're going to put these back into the oven that's already heated up for 6 minutes to let it go. Before I do that though, I'm going to put the pasta on. So my water is boiling, and now I'm going to add the pasta. So 350 grams of pasta. This bag is 500 grams, so I'll use just over half.
And Scott tells us to boil the pasta for 8 minutes, but also it's just kind of whatever it says on the bag. You're going to do 2 minutes less than whatever it says on the bag, because we're also going to bake this at the end, which is going to cook it a bit more. And I'll just stir this around, bring down the heat a little bit. So now I'm just going to put the croutons, or these cubes, back into the oven for 6 minutes while the pasta just finishes. Okay, I'm putting my excess cubes into a bowl while all that other stuff is happening. That's just going to be
for the end to go on top. Then we're going to chop the garlic, and we carefully pull our little bread cubes out of the oven. Just dump the pasta into the colander, and I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to use the same pot that I just used to create the cheese sauce with all of these other bits. So I've chopped the garlic up. I might even chop it a bit finer, but that's pretty good right there. And here we go. So we're going to add in the 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to be quite liberal tablespoons because why not? And then we're going to just put that on really low heat. We're going to melt the butter, and then we're going to add the garlic, the chopped garlic that we did earlier. Then we're going to cook for 1 minute, and then we're going to add the flour. So that's garlic added, and 1 teaspoon of mustard. Stir that all together. We're going to cook that for 1 minute. This minute, then we're going to do 3 tablespoons of flour. I'm measuring these bad boys out, but not, again, being too exact. We'll let that rock for 1 minute. Right now we're going to add the milk. So it's 500 milliliters. This is basically 500 milliliters. Maybe we'll leave a little bit out like that. And then we're going to stir it up. So now I'm just stirring it constantly, keeping it up, letting it thicken up as it's getting into a kind of a gloopy, thicker consistency. Gotta give it a little time. Cook and stir until it thickens. So getting thicker. If it's really gooey, don't add in any more flour straight away. But if you do need to, then there's also that option. And then once it's thickened, you can take it off the heat, pull it off, and then we're going to add the cheese. Okay, next is the cheese. So I should have probably grated this earlier, but I'm just going to do it now. All you do is you want 250 grams of grated cheese and then an extra 50 grams just kind of for the end. And there's our mountain of cheese. So, and if we need more, then I can always grate some more later on. Now I'm adding the cheese into our sauce, which I'll show you actually before I start doing that. This is it here, all thickened up, nice thick consistency. Basically, we're just making a cheese sauce. So I pulled that off the heat. Now I'm adding the cheese, which is a lot of cheese, and we're going to save that for the top. So let's just stirring it in here. You can add some salt and pepper if you like. I'll pop a little bit of both in here. Now we're going to stir in the pasta. Again, you can use any pasta. You dump it into your sauce. And we're going to mix. So now the pasta's all mixed up in the cheese sauce, and we're going to take it and we're going to put it on top of these croutons that we previously had cooked up. And there we go. Now we'll add the rest of our croutons on top, like so. And then we're going to add the rest of the cheese on top of those. And once you've got all that on, you are good to go back into the oven. So we open the oven and we're going to pop these bad boys inside. And we're going to let them cook for 20 minutes. And the moment has arrived. It has been 20 minutes. The last 3 minutes I just turned it off and let it sit in the oven for the last 3 minutes. Do its thing, and we're pulling these bad boys out now, and there they are. Boom! Mac and cheese. Okay, so that's episode 3 of Cooking with Markus. Thanks for listening. Thank you for hopefully making it. Let me know if you do and how good it goes. This is it. To be honest, I've already eaten some because I was too hungry and excited. So this is it. This is Scott's restaurant quality mac and cheese. I hope you enjoy it. I'll put the recipe in the description below. And yeah, have a fantastic week. And see you again next week. Thanks, Scott. I wake up, it's early